Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
We've talked before about how long a traffic stop can be. And it often is the case where the police will pull somebody over for one thing and give them a ticket for that thing and then think to themselves, I bet there's something else going on here. And they'll drag the traffic stop out and they'll call somebody to bring in a canine unit, a police officer dog, not a lawyer dog, but a cop dog. And they'll bring in a police officer dog and the dog will go around the car and the dog will alert. And next thing you know, they're going through the car and they find something in the car. And courts have consistently held that a traffic stop for a particular reason is over when the police officer writes the ticket for that. So there's an interesting thing that arises if they drag the stop out beyond that. And it varies from state to state. So this is interesting from Wyoming. Not sure I've covered any major stories from Wyoming before. Supreme Court of Wyoming, traffic stop went on too long, evidence must be tossed. Jim Angel wrote a story for the Cowboy State Daily in Wyoming. Donald sent it, thanks a lot. A traffic stop that led to a man's arrest on drug charges went on for too long to use the drugs found in his car as evidence against him. The Wyoming Supreme Court has ruled. The Wyoming Supreme Court. Now, the court ruled that drugs seized from the car should have been suppressed as evidence because the sheriff's deputy who stopped the man in his car acted improperly to extend the amount of time it took to write a traffic citation. According to the ruling, the man was riding in a car driven by his wife when he tossed a cigarette butt out the window. A deputy pulled the car over. The deputy testified the car's driver appeared very nervous, so he called for a drug-sniffing dog to be brought to the location. He then wrote the citation for throwing the cigarette out of the car. The dog and its handler arrived and began inspecting the car while the deputy was completing the ticket. The deputy had the man get out of the car so he could explain the ticket. After issuing the ticket, the deputy asked the man why he was so nervous. The ruling said the dog's handler then indicated to the deputy that the presence of drugs had been detected, and the deputy began asking the man whether he had drugs in the car. A search revealed drugs, and the man was charged with possession and 2 counts of child endangerment. I suspect there was a child in the car, but this is the only mention we have of that. Federal courts have ruled that when making a traffic stop, law enforcement can only detain the people being ticketed long enough to issue the ticket unless there is reasonable cause to extend the stop. The man argued the deputy improperly extended the duration of the traffic stop to allow the dog search to be conducted in violation of his rights against unreasonable search and seizure. The trial court in the case rejected the argument, but the judges, in an opinion written by Justice Fox, ruled that the deputy improperly extended the duration of the stop by 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. So we had cases before, it was 20 minutes, half an hour, 90 seconds. The point is that it doesn't matter how long. If you've extended it too far. They wrote, we are concerned here with inquiries that did extend the duration of the stop because they occurred after the deputy had completed the citation and the reason for the stop had been resolved. The deputy unlawfully extended the duration of the traffic stop after he completed the citation by asking unrelated questions about the nervousness. So you're getting a ticket. Why are you nervous? Maybe because I'm getting a ticket? The case was sent back to the district court for further proceedings, but theoretically, I'm suspecting that once you dismiss the evidence, there's not much of a case left. 2 judges, in a dissenting opinion, said that the man failed to raise some of these issues brought up in a Supreme Court appeal when he originally asked the trial court to suppress the evidence found in his car. They said that the man did not tell the trial court about the deputy's questions about his nervousness and did not identify when the purpose of the traffic stop ended. As a result, he should not have been allowed to raise these issues on appeal. That's an interesting point. It's a procedural one. Generally speaking, if you go up on appeal and you ask an appeals court to review the lower court and change something because the court made a bad ruling or something, you have to have preserved the issue for appeal, okay? So you've all seen this during a trial. Objection, overruled, okay? Now the objection's on the record that you objected, you got overruled, but the objection's there. So when you go up on appeal, you can say, hey, I objected to that. Judge overruled me. The judge is wrong. If you don't object, then a court will often say, well, you know something, by not objecting, the court proceeded in a way that would suggest that you agreed with what was happening. And if we let you bring the objection up now, despite the fact you didn't do it earlier, it's like you get 2 shots at this because you're trying it one way, didn't work, now you're trying it the other way. And also, one of the reasons that you make objections is that the court made a mistake or a mistake is about to be made. And by making the objection now, we can cure it now. It's easier to get it cured now. And so why not fix it now instead of waiting for later? So the interesting thing, though, is there are occasions where courts will hear things on appeal that were not preserved below. And the best example is if somebody's up on criminal charges, they've got an incompetent attorney, and their appeal is partly based on, incompetent counsel, then of course it makes sense that they may have missed some objections because they were incompetent. So that's one of them. But number two, the Supreme Court can do anything it wants, okay? They can decide to hear something they want to. And the idea that, we're going to hang this up on a technicality, the other judges clearly thought, no, this is an important issue. And even if it wasn't preserved properly below, it appears that it was brought up, and so I'm not too keen on this. Let's throw this out on a technicality thing. So the dissenting opinion says that the man should not have been allowed to raise those issues in his appeal because he didn't raise them below. They say applying the majority opinion's analysis, so long as the defendant asserts that law enforcement unlawfully or unreasonably extended the traffic stop, he need not clearly identify for the district court the unlawful or unreasonable action or cases on which he relies. Instead, the mere mention of law enforcement's actions during the stop will suffice to preserve his right to argue on appeal that his stop was unreasonably prolonged. And again, like I said, I believe that the majority of the court is looking at this saying, well, it's an important thing, and if these facts are true, then this stop went on too long. So 90 seconds, a minute and a half. But if you listen to the story as it unfolds, okay, first of all, he's the passenger in the vehicle. Throws something out the window. And don't get me wrong, that drives me crazy. I've been driving before and had stuff thrown in the cars, hit my car in the windshield. I've had stuff go into my car. I used to have a Jeep Wrangler. Had somebody flip a cigarette out the window and it landed in my back seat. 1 in a million shot, but it happened, okay? So that is annoying, and you should get a ticket for that. No doubt about it. Now, once the ticket's been issued, hand it over, traffic stop should end, you should leave. We hear the stories all the time about where they extend the traffic stop. Why are you so nervous? Dumbest question ever asked by a police officer. Why are you nervous? If you're not nervous, there's something wrong with you, okay? So, Supreme Court, traffic stop went on too long. Evidence must be tossed. And for those of you who are curious, yes, this happened in Wyoming. Right next door is South Dakota. And of course, South Dakota, as you may recall, has their state motto, meth. We are on it. And that is, of course, what this man was accused of having in his car, which was turned up later on when the police dogs showed up and alerted, as they so often do. And so the question is, if he'd been in South Dakota, had things might have turned out differently? I don't know. The first thought when I saw this was, please be South Dakota, please be South Dakota. Oh, it's Wyoming. Oh, well, good enough. So the interesting thing here is that it doesn't matter that it's only prolonged 90 seconds. Apparently, 60 seconds, 30 seconds would have been enough. The court doesn't say you need to hit a certain timeline. And one of the other things that people ask me about, and I've seen comments below videos I've done, where people seem to think that there is a distinct limit, that the police must write the ticket within so many minutes, or either they can't hand it to you or the traffic stop is over. And the courts have ruled on the issue, but they've never given a bright line and never said a traffic stop must last this long. And they can't. They can't. And the reason they can't is that the situations are different, okay? So let's suppose it's a traffic stop during the day, sunny day, and you're out in the country, and it goes smoothly. That might be a short traffic stop. Traffic stop happens at night in a scary part of town, and there's only one officer, and he's got to do everything very, very carefully and approach the car from a different side. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go on. What if the police officer goes back to his car and is trying to run the driver's license through the system, and the system is slow, okay? I'm not saying so slow it never comes back. What if it comes back slowly? Whatever. There's all kinds of things that could happen. So the idea that the traffic stop must end at this moment in time, that's not the case. But clearly, if you think about the transaction, you're driving along, the lights go on, you pull over, police officer pulls over behind you, gets out of his car, her car, walks up, approaches you, makes contact with you, a discussion ensues, You hand paperwork over, driver's license, registration, proof of insurance, whatever it is required in your state. They then look at the stuff, go back to their car, analyze it, call it in, write up a ticket, walk back up to the car, give you another little lecture, hand you back your stuff, hand you the ticket, explain the ticket to you, and then you go. That's a typical transaction, okay? And so there obviously is a moment in time where the police officer hands you your stuff and the stop is functionally over. I've seen it before where a police officer gives a little lecture after handing the stuff over. And I wouldn't recommend that as the police officer hands the stuff over and is still talking, that you grab it and take off. I would, as a matter of courtesy, finish the conversation, say thank you, have a nice night, good night, and leave, or whatever you want to end your conversation with. But the point is that you end that conversation and you leave. So the fact is that once the police officer back there has written the ticket and is walking towards the car, it appears that the officer is committed to, this is a ticket, this is the end of the stop, and to prolong the stop from that point is the problem. And so I guess pro tip here is that if you're in court and a traffic stop got extended beyond the point when the officer's handing you the ticket, be sure to raise it at that level. Raise it in the court and say, by the way, traffic stop ended here. That's when you ask me, why do you look so nervous? Maybe you should get out of the car. And then they called in the police dogs. Okay? And at that point, you make a better record. And that way, the Supreme Court can't dissent as vociferously as this one did in the dissent. But the majority still ruled that 90 seconds was too long to prolong the traffic stop to bring in the police dogs. So there you go. Supreme Court traffic stop went on too long. Evidence must be tossed. From Wyoming, Jim Angel, writing for the Cowboy State Daily. Donald sent it. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.